Hello there, ladies. We are all ladies.
Hello.
Here's Harriet. Hi, everyone. Let's let everybody in. Welcome. And nice to meet you, Julia and Jenna. And hello again, Hannah Marie. And hey, Harriet. How are you all? Intros? Should we say hi to each other? Oh, here's Michael too.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome, Michael.
Hi.
And Archer's here. Oh my God, full house. My marketing's really good for this then, eh? You were all like, yeah, I want some of that. Gonna go to that call. Good. Hi, Michael. Welcome. First time. And Julia and Jenna, whose team are you on? Just to get it straight in my head.
Do you mean like who is my coach?
Okay, yeah. Oh, you're Anthony's client. No,
yeah,
you're Anthony's client. Okay, awesome. Well, nice to meet you. And Jenna?
Nice to meet you too.
I'm in Smart Mentoring, Marianne's team.
Mariana's team. Hello, Jenna.
Yes,
Nice to meet
yes.
you. Beautiful. And Hannah Marie, we know each other from Marianne's team. And yeah, well, that's the intro's done. Hey, Archer.
Hello.
I see you there at the bottom now. You're right. Sorry to keep you up. Poor old Archie gets a raw deal here. He's in Australia and I'm in Thailand, so it's bedtime for us, isn't it, Archer?
Yeah, only 11:30 p.m.
It's only 11:30 p.m. Of course, I can sacrifice my sleep for a good old bit of sales wisdom. And Michael, welcome again. Nice to have you, buddy.
Hey, thanks. Excited to be here.
All right. Well, we're all here for one thing and one thing only. Sell some shit, right? Sell it ethically, I should say. And I'll try not to swear too much. So unless there's any questions, I'm just going to go ahead and get started with what I offered, which was a good old reminder on the foundations of sales. And if you're my client, you're probably used to me banging on about this, but I almost never teach tactics, or I try and avoid it, because they very much end up diluting, what really makes the sale, which comes back to the basics. Hold on, just going to let Victor in. Hello, Victor. Connecting audio. Hi, Victor.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. This is my first call, so I'll be just listening to you.
Yep, listening. Welcome, and a couple of other people's first time as well. So you're all good. So look, I'm going to take 30 minutes to go over foundations. And if it seemed a bit spicy when I said we're going to be looking at the foundations and what I have to keep repeating myself, it's just because I thought it was funny. And it's true that the foundations and what it means to close well, to run sales teams, which some of you are doing, some of you are on sales teams. So I'm with you, I'm in your camp. I'm also a rep and, I've been doing that for some time. So I know what it's like to sell other people's offers and be on the receiving end of leads. So a little bit of everything for everybody, I think, is important. And some of you are still selling for your own businesses and so on. So, well, like I said, even when I'm running a sales team, almost always we try to avoid tactics because it dilutes what really makes the sale, and that's the basics and the foundations. And actually, it's really easy to go off track. So, if it's okay with you guys, I'm just going to talk you through some slides. I'm only going to take about 25 minutes, maybe 30. But I'll ask now and maybe at the end, are there any burning questions that you feel it's really important that you get answers to straight away? Hannah Marie?
I have one, yeah. So I met one person who had invested a large amount of money to other coaching program in the beginning of this year. And she was learning how to make online businesses. and the client was left totally without the coach's support, though it was promised to be there. So of course, she was having big doubts with our program as well. So
Yeah.
how would you handle this?
How did you handle it?
I started asking questions
Okay, good
about
stuff.
her experience and what she is expecting from us. And then when she told those things, I said, if we can guarantee that we give you support to these things, are you willing to take a step towards our program?
Mm-hmm. What did she say?
It's been 2 months from this question, so I don't remember. But she didn't came for our clients at that
She's
moment.
not a client
so
at the moment,
no,
so
no.
she wasn't feeling it. Well,
Mhm.
she was probably told that before, wasn't she? Guarantee you clients, right? We'll guarantee to help you, and then she got burned. This is a great question actually, because essentially it's just a little bit of a bit of skepticism that it might not work out. Am I going to get scammed again? So without context of the whole call, which of course is always a good thing to have, but on the surface of it, it's quite common that if someone's taking steps towards something, and the higher volume that you have in this capacity, in a coaching capacity, you will come across more and more people that that actually have tried stuff before and it hasn't worked. So actually the best time to deal with that was earlier on in the call. Okay, so I don't know when this question came up, but if it came up after the prices dropped and there was still an abundance of skepticism there, right? If you knew about it earlier on in the call, you shouldn't have pitched her until you know that it's not a problem.
Yes.
That makes sense. So if you know that that objection isn't going to go away, I would have, in a sense, I would have pushed back quite hard and said, you haven't got over the last thing, so how are you going to take steps forward? Or I might have taken the route of, let's do a comparison. Yeah, do you feel the same talking to us as you felt talking to them? And get the feelings. How do you feel? Is this different? Does it look different? Are the testimonials different? Have you seen enough to be able to believe this? So one good question in this capacity right at the beginning, and for any call to help you, because we have to be careful not to isolate that one situation, because even though if you start asking, even if you ask the right questions and you do everything right, their response, they could dig their heels in and say, no, I still feel that way. Or they could go with it and go, yeah, you're right, it's not the same. I'm going to have to take another chance at some point because I'm not getting anywhere by myself, right? But it's much more powerful when they say it. So without isolating that one situation, one good thing to do, and it should be a part of the sales process, is if you've got pre-call training or pre-call something, so a little bit of homework, right? That watch this, and I know Marianne has that because I told her to do it that way, right? So they get to see something, and you asking them, have you done some research? Did you enjoy the stuff that we sent you? And then you can ask questions like, well, have you seen enough? Can you get behind this? Yeah. Well, what did you see? Well, I liked that one testimonial about that person. Oh, why did that resonate with you? Okay. And then when they come back to you later, and ultimately this is early objection handling, when they come back to you and go, I need to do a bit of research, or I'm still skeptical, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. You weren't skeptical before the price, but you're skeptical now. What's going on? And you have some ammunition, essentially. Doesn't always work perfectly, but that will be one way to handle early objection. If there's ever a sense of, well, I got scammed before, or it didn't work before, and I've tried this before, but it didn't work. So one way is asking them to tell you, what research have you done? What effort have you made to see if this is the right thing for you? Have you looked at the testimonials? Did you do the homework we sent you? Did you watch the thing? Right? And then the second is a slightly different objection in that, well, I've tried before and it didn't work, or I paid this money and I got scammed, right? Well, then you have to make a comparison. And ultimately, maybe just go at it with some truth, right? Well, I mean, you could be right, you know, there's no guarantees, but is it going to stop if I'm trying? And get them to confess that, well, maybe they are skeptical and they are worried, but is it strong enough for them to stop moving forward? Right. And there's something to be taken with. You've got to bear in mind that on a sales call, they're on the sales call, right? Which is a significant difference to just being in a DM or reading an email. It's a much bigger commitment to fixing their problem. It's huge, in fact. They're like inches away from having their problem fixed because they managed to make it to that call. So never forget that, you know, we're here talking. Why are we here talking if you're not in any way, shape or form wanting to make, you know, decisions about your business? Maybe we shouldn't be here talking. And this is where you'll hear again that I'm pushing back a little bit. Okay, it's up to them. And what's also coming out of this is there's zero desperation, right? Doesn't matter to me if you sign up to this program or not, but it matters to you greatly, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Right? So when somebody's watching in on your calls, if it's a third person looking in, it always has to appear as though it's them that need you more than you that need them. Right? So not to go too much off track. Hannah Marie, does that help at all? And anybody else, does that, any comments or disagreements or agreements?
Yeah, this is totally helpful.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
example, this pushing back. Yeah.
Yeah, why are we here then? In a nice way, by the way. I'm obviously a very nice person, or I wouldn't have done very well with sales. But yeah, you still have to ask the questions. Yeah. And so, you know, if you're gonna need to ask those types of questions, which are always relevant in a sales scenario, especially if somebody's telling you, but I tried before and it didn't work and I'm skeptical and it might not work for me this time. Okay. Then you need to say things like, well, I gotta ask. I mean, and I feel like I should ask. I mean, why would we be here talking if you've got these sort of hang-ups about what's happened in the past? What's different about this time? What motivated you to book this call? Yeah. And then comes a bit of instilling belief. Well, you know, what do you need from us? Well, I need a guarantee. I need an agreement. What else? I need a money back guarantee. Okay, great. You know, you're going to get everything you want. If you tell me what you want, I can pitch it to you ultimately, right? I can tell you you're going to get what you want. So asking questions that will satisfy them and will alleviate the uncertainties is the only way, really. And sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't, but that's your best shot. Okay. Anyone else? Any comments or similar experiences with that?
I just had the same thing just now on my last sales call. Someone who'd been burnt a lot of times in the industry. So there was definitely like a huge trust thing. And yeah, I think I went through everything that you'd suggested to help with that, and ended up as a last resort doing get them into the program, and then they can decide within 30 days if it's for them.
Nice.
But I pushed it as far as I think, you know, I think with practice I'll be able to push it further, and I kept going up until the point where I think we were both a bit uncomfortable and he needed to go meditate. So.
Oh, I need to sit on it. Oh God, I can't stand it when people say that to me. Anyway, but I get it and I'm empathic about it. Because essentially that's exactly where they needed you, right? So switching on your sales hat is really, really important if you're selling in your own business at the moment, because you're it's like I always say, even though you've pitched them, you've still got 50% of the way to go. Right, there's more work to be done, because when it comes to money, more uncertainties come up, and it just does get squirmy. I mean, I've said that a million times. Just get used to the squirm, get used to the awkwardness, and revel in it almost. because actually that's where they need you standing firm and saying, but you just told me X, Y, Z. Do you still want that? Talk to me then. What's going on? Right. That's where they really need you to be confident and convinced that you can help them, and just standing strong for them, because it's their weakest moment and they won't take a step forward otherwise. So yeah, and great example, and I hope it comes through then, Harriet. Perfect. Okay, any other questions before we go on and just talk a little bit about this foundation training? Going on.
Yeah, I had actually like I'm not sure even a question, but I have slightly different kind of service product. We do e-com and websites and that kind of stuff. So in those, like, the scale is quite wide, like in the pricing. So I have quite good closing rate in sales meetings, but the most common things what are like when someone says no, or are when they said, like, when you talked about that just about like having second thoughts after hearing the price, and then also one is always maybe let's do it a bit later. And the third one is also like someone does it cheaper. Like when you do website and e-com, it's like there's a million things that differ. Like there's one person that does everything, or then there's like my company that we have a lot of like 5, 6 people team, and everyone has their own expertise, so that's a bit different thing. So but yeah, like with the let's do it later thing, that's like the most, like, I think the most difficult for me to like to get the sales when someone says that. Like the other two are like a bit easier to like.
Yeah. Okay, because
Yeah,
they can
to
come
go
up with they can come up with some quite good reasons why they should do it later as well, can't they? Summer holidays, or I'll do it when we get back from our holiday, or I'll do it after Christmas, so we'll start it in the new year, and they all seem very, very valid, but they are just excuses. And it ultimately comes down to there's an uncertainty. So number one, we'd go back to how well can we deal with that before we drop the price? So are we doing enough temp checks? You know, when do you want this happening? How soon do you want these problems fixed? How well do you think this aligns with you? These types of temp checks. And I suppose in a tactical sense, they're sort of getting yeses, but it's more than that. It's checking their own commitment and having them commit to the process, right? And just simply by having that number, that fixed number early on in the call, when is it that you're looking to actually take some action here? Oh, should have been yesterday, Julia. Oh, blimey, I can't help you with yesterday, but I might be able to help you with today, right? And then it's in the air, if you like, isn't it? So it's going to be going again, just the simplest way to answer this is go back to the discovery. How good is your discovery on those types of things, right? How long has it been a problem? When do you want it fixed by? What happens if you wait to fix this, or start this, or do this, or stop this, right? How much money are you losing without, I mean, that's if it's a business sell, how much money are you losing on your website currently? Do you know? Have you worked it out? Let's work it out, right? That's my route, and I sold marketing for a long time, Julia, so I know the type of call that you're talking about. It's going to come down to the numbers, right? How much money are they losing? Right?
Yeah.
And money will talk at that point. Does that help at all, Julia? Right back to the discovery, not so much the objection.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Again, it will work some of the time, and some of the time it won't. And I think ultimately it's going to depend on the person, so what you know about the person, in a sense, and then you can lean into that, right? So again, it comes back to how good was the discovery? What do we know about them that we can use at this point? you know, in a sense, well, you just told me that the business is hemorrhaging money at the moment, that the website's never made you any money, and you've already lost X, Y, Z. I mean, does it make sense to wait? Well, not really. Okay, well, why aren't we doing it then? What's the uncertainty? Yeah, and they sound like spicy questions, don't they? But remember that your tone will carry the right type of energy. And energy is something that I wanted to talk about today, actually. So I get away with asking very, very deep, concerning questions. Not that I get away with it. I have to ask them, because if I don't ask them, I'm not doing my job, right? So I'm more than happy to ask somebody, how do you feel about losing 100K? What's that done to you? What's been the impact, right? When I'm selling B2C, well, how much time do you get to spend with the kids? 4 hours a day? Is it enough? What's the impact on them? Right? I'm happy to ask those questions because I know how people make decisions, and I've got their best interest at heart. So let's talk about empathy and energy, and these are the foundations. So everything we've just talked about means nothing if your foundations are off and the basics of selling are off, your energy's off, or your empathy is out of whack, or you're not being empathic enough. Is this helpful for everybody, by the way, before I go too far off track or down any tangents? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Okay, awesome. All right. I'm gonna pop on this. I wanted to screen share, and oh, everything's disappeared. Okay. All right, Zoom. I'll try again. Okay, just sorry guys, new computer, and need to allow. Thank you.
Did you end up getting a new laptop?
I did, thanks Archer, and it's right smashing. It's I'm very happy. But also not quite set up. Okay, is that going to do it? Yay. All right. Okay, can everybody see? Yeah, is that a yes? Everybody can see? Thumbs up. Okay. So let's just talk through the bullet points then, guys, and please jump in and ask questions as we go along. But like I say, look, when I'm running a sales team, Michael, directing this at you a little bit, because this is what's to come. This is around the corner for you. And obviously everybody else either's on a sales team or attempting to work towards it. Okay, so jump in if you've got questions, but essentially I'm just going to work through the foundations that I found are really the things that literally on a weekly basis I would take my sales team through or indicate this is what your focus is. Okay, because yep, I love answering questions about objections, but honestly, I get less and less objections the better my foundations are in a sales call, and it's really, really easy to have your foundations go off track. So bear with me, we'll talk through them, ask questions as we go along if you've got them, and let's see what you think of this. So why are we talking about foundations again? Because tactics will knock you off balance, right? If you get too tactical, you get mixed up. And you end up trying to do something on a sales call, and that's an obvious sign that, oh, I'm being sold to, and that gets people's backs up, and they start to put barriers in front of you when they sense that tactics are at play. Okay, so I think most of you have probably watched my training on philosophy when we talk about philosophy first, tactics as and when. So I'm not here to say tactics are bad. I'm just saying that the foundations have to come first, and that, you know, is in part your philosophy, but it's also some other significant things as well. And the reason that we have to keep talking about this, and if you're running sales team or attempting to be running a sales team or on a sales team, referring back to your foundations as often as possible is because you're human and you will go off track. Sometimes I call it script drift. All of a sudden we've got this fantastic battle tested script in front of us, and next thing I know I'm reviewing a call where there's no pre-frame. or the pitch was shocking, or the discovery lasted 3 minutes or something like that, and we've just gone off track a little bit. So because we're human, it's just really easy to go off track and get out of whack. So I suppose this is my reminder to you to check your foundations as often, and I'm really thinking weekly to daily. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what the foundations are, by the way. The next thing is that most sales calls are lost because of the basics, because the foundations are off, because somebody didn't trust you enough, or the energy was off, and so on. So big reason to get the foundations really working for you. I'm telling you, it's never the money. I know you all probably want to come back at me and go, but some people are just skint and some people don't have the money. All right, a percentage don't, but I'm telling you, it's never the money, because if some problem is big enough, they'll find it. And I know that because I've been on lots of sales calls where 30% of my sales come through people who tell me they've got no money to begin with. Okay, so don't get stuck in the mindset that it's the objections that are preventing you from making sales. It's not. Good objection handling will increase your close rate by about maybe 5, maybe 10% if you're really good. Okay, but 20 to 25% of your sales and closing rates will come from good foundations, people trusting you and liking you. I'm sure we all agree about that. So don't get too hooked on tactics and objection handling. Work on your discoveries, okay? So yeah, when you nail the basics consistently, that's the difference. And it's the difference on a sales team, and it's the difference when I'm running a sales team, or it's the difference when I'm teaching somebody to grow their business. It's the difference between making the business money to making a sale, right? Making one sale isn't good enough for a business. It's not what you wanted. Actually, you want to make money, right? So the system has to be profitable. So when you have the basics in consistently and you're doing your due diligence as a team manager, as a team player on a team, or as a business owner to get the basics right and keep them in place and check them and review and ask, okay, and check and keep everything in balance, that's where you make money in the business, not just sales. Okay, which is what we want, right? Everybody here wants to make money for their businesses, I'll assume, yes. Okay, great. So number one, and take notes, these are the things that I want you to check on a daily basis. How are these things today? These are things that you can check inside of your sales team, or you can do training like this for your sales team that will help them to stay on track. Okay. And remember, this is where all the sales are lost. It's not objection handling. Okay. It's here. So energy, or the transference of energy. There's always, even on an online call, there's always a transference of energy. Okay. And it isn't just about how you show up. It's about other things, like how you feel about sales. Yeah. How impatient you're feeling that day. Right? How your energy feels. Okay. Does this make sense to everybody? About it's the difference between it's not just about, oh, well, I always show up every day for my business and I'm here, aren't I? Right. It's about how are you actually going into the call? Yeah. What's going on in your head before the call? Are your anxiety levels higher? Are you wanting the call to be over? Are you thinking about what you're going to do after the call? Are you already thinking, oh, this one's not going to close, right? This is energy, and it transfers quickly, and you don't see it happening, right? So the more that you can do to have a good energy and mood balance before your sales, the better. Okay. Again, I've lost hundreds and thousands probably of my own revenue and other people's revenue by having dodgy energy on a week of calls, right? Being a little bit under the weather can put my energy off, right? Being frustrated about something and not telling somebody can put my energy off. Okay. So the second thing there being, it's not about changing who you are that day. It's just about being who you need to be on the call for that person. And that's going to take us into empathy, isn't it? Right. But so far, it's just about who do you need to be for that person, for that hour, and can you be that person? Yeah. Because, yep, when your energy is off, everything's off. Okay. Now, your energy also is at the start of the call, it gives somebody the impression, it sets the tone, if you like. And ultimately, your job right at the beginning of the call is to have a transference of energy that's positive, that gives off that sets the right tone and creates a safe environment for somebody. Okay, so if somebody clams up and won't tell you stuff, that's your fault. Most of the time. Okay, there's tons that you can do to change the energy and be aware of the transference of energy on sales calls. Okay, so after number one, has anybody experienced this? Can you relate to this at all? That when your mood is off, the sales calls are crap? Anna Marie's nodding, yep. Harriet?
Yeah.
Drop me some gold. Give me an example. Feeling a bit poop? I don't know. Maybe, well, Harriet, if you don't mind, we'll use you as an example here because we've worked on this a little bit. Having 5 no sales in a row, that can throw your energy off a little bit. What do you do to recover from that? How do you recover from that? So I'm not giving you the answers to these things. I'm just here to tell you right now how important it is that you pay attention to it. Right? And don't keep going into sales calls with bad energy or with your energy just being off a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I even said to you this week, didn't I, Harriet, there's no point in going into sales calls with you feeling like this. Cancel them, reschedule them. That's a loss, right? Because you're setting yourself up for more loss and you won't be able to convert people out of desperation. Well, I'm here, aren't I? Right? I turned up. I didn't cancel it. Not good enough for a sales call. Right? You can put off DM conversations. You can put off copywriting. But if you turn up to a sales call, and this is important for you guys on sales teams as well, more than likely that it's cost your boss or whoever quite a bit of time and energy and possibly some money to get you on that call. So we've got to show up with the right kind of energy and we've got to do everything we possibly can to respect that opportunity. Okay, almost always all of the offers I'm on usually will come from paid traffic. So, and it's always high ticket. So it always costs them about $100 to just get me on a call. That's $800 every day that someone's spending to give me the free opportunity to make my commissions. Yeah, so you think about it that way, it's a bit more important that I get my energy straight and it is the one thing that I can do for the person that I'm helping. It's also a really simple and easy thing to do for the person that I'm trying to help that day, isn't it? To just turn up with the right kind of energy. Yeah. How's everybody doing? I don't want to bang on too much, but sometimes I do. So just move me along if you need to. All good? Thumbs up? Helpful? Good reminder at least? What's important? Okay. So the second thing that I'm going to say is a foundational thing is conviction. Yeah. Or conviction on the offer. All right. This is a foundational thing. How confident are you when someone is when you're pitching somebody, when you're talking about your programs, or you're talking about your websites, Julia, when you're talking about your services or your outcomes or your testimonial, how much conviction, and don't confuse the word conviction with convincing, right? It is conviction that you're speaking with, all right? So, and that's very, very different to trying to convince somebody of something. Shouldn't be trying to convince somebody. In fact, the best thing to do is to have them self-admit. Okay. Do you think this is a good idea? Is this something that will benefit your business? What do you think will happen if you go another month without the support that you're telling me you've needed for 2 years? What's the trajectory? You tell me what the cost of inaction is, right? So that's how you get to the point of not convincing, letting them self-confess, but also when you offer somebody something, you can do it with conviction. Okay, so maybe you guys can help me out here and tell me some of the things that tell you something about someone's confidence or lack of. What are the kind of signs that somebody isn't confident about what they're saying or what they're doing?
If they keep ending their sentences with an uptone.
Good rising tone. That'll be $2,800, please. Yeah, crikey, that's a good one. Right, nice. Anything else?
I guess a lot of the ums, the ers, if you can't say a sentence coherently.
Yeah, okay. So sort of a mismatch of a speech pattern, maybe. Okay.
I think also, whilst some of us are probably getting used to using certain scripts, like delivering things in a really robotic fashion and just not seeming comfortable in what you're actually saying.
Yeah.
I've definitely found myself doing that in parts and trying to kind of snap out of it and actually just think about the words that I'm actually saying instead of the outcome that I'm looking for from them.
Interesting. Okay, so the idea of the crossover as well, I'm using a script, but I can't tell anybody I'm using a script, or I don't want them to think I'm using a script. What's important about that though as well is that if you're just starting out and you are using a framework, it's actually better, even if it sounds a bit robotic, to read the script, because that's the only way it's going to become really, really succinct, is just for constant repetition of it. But I get what you mean, sort of being a bit robotic and not really, not feeling like they're your words, but they will do eventually. Sticking to the script is an important one there. Anything else?
I think also the tone of voice, and I think you can kind of like hear someone's like body language if through the phone or in sales calls. I think my grandma, she's always telling me that when she was in the secretary like school or something, I don't know what year that was, but she's always said that they were teach to smile when talking those calls. It was something like a nice calls or whatever. But yeah, I think that's like a good example of like you can hear how the person is, like as you said.
And that tells you that they're confident, they're happy. Happy to be telling you what they're telling you. And they can do it with a smile on their face. Yeah, that would indicate someone's confidence. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you mentioned something even more important, which is body language though. So here's what I see happening on offers. It's going to be, well, you know, you just have to do this and that and then, and when it gets real crazy like that, it's like, I'm not quite feeling what's going on here. It gets a little bit sort of chaotic. Okay, so your body language is definitely one way that you can have some conviction on a sales call. What they really need to see is you sitting there looking them directly in the eye and being able to talk directly and say, hey, this is how I'm going to get you there. Step 1, step 2, step 3. You happy with that? Does it sound like a good idea? Right? And so you can sense the tone and conviction in my voice there, can't you? And I'm sitting still at the same time. Okay. Then you have a chance to instill belief in somebody as well. Because if somebody gets to the end of the call believing that they, or recognizing that they do have a problem, and that it is fixable, but not by you, then you have a no sale, right? So you being able to speak with confidence about what you're talking will convert that. It will say, okay, well, I do have a problem and it can be fixed, and this is the person to do it. You know, they seem confident. That's what they're looking for. Does that help everybody? Does that make sense? So talking with conviction and being aware of yourself and how you're talking, your body language. Yeah, smiling, Julia. I like that one. I'm a big smiler on sales calls. People need to feel safe, right? You know, at the beginning of calls, most of the time we go, I'm gonna look after you here, right? I'm gonna try and help you. And then often we sort of drop off at the point where we were supposed to actually help them. The point at which we actually pitch something that they actually want, and we smile with it and we're confident with it. dropping the price is, you know, an obvious place where confidence drops off and our voices tail off and we get a bit quiet about it. Shout it if you need to. Right? I'd rather someone shouted the price. I'd be more confident paying somebody that when it's $5,000. You ready for this? You got $5,000 in the bank? I'd be much more confidently paying that person than somebody goes, it's $5,000, 5K, with their hand on their face, right? So you can do so much to show somebody that you're confident that you can help them, because they are looking for you to be able to trust you. Never ever forget that. Okay. And again, we're here talking about foundation. So if it seems foundational, it's because it is, but you keep forgetting it. And I know you keep forgetting it because your sales percentages and sales could be better. Right. And what I know from running sales teams and reviewing so many sales calls, it's always the basics. Always. It's not because your objection handling was crappy or you didn't know what to say. And it's not because of the lead generation and the poor lead quality. It's never because of that. It's always because of the foundations. Okay. Am I speaking with conviction? Do you believe me? I hope so. One, my experience will help you to believe me, but two, I'm speaking with conviction. This is true. Okay. And that's a nice little demonstration. All good with that one? Yeah. Okay. So an obvious one is empathy then. But you probably all knew that this one would come up as, but I don't think it's going to come up in the way that you were hoping. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you're all wonderful for trying to help people in this way. Look, you are not as empathic as you think you are. Big lesson. We're always a bit delusional about this. I'm an empathic person and I really care about helping other people. Sure you do, but you don't always show it and you don't always go to the places that you need to go to be empathic with somebody. You're not always as patient as you need to be with somebody on a sales call. Right? Especially if you've had four of them in a row, right? So check yourself on empathy. Just because you think you're empathic doesn't mean you're being it. Okay? Just because you value empathy doesn't mean you're actually being it. Okay? So checking yourself on sales calls is that you are being understanding. I took a sales call the other day, actually, and I wasn't feeling very well and I wasn't being empathic. And I literally remember saying to myself, show a little bit of compassion here, please. You know, remember, you are a nice person. You're just having an off day. Switch it on. This person needs some help, right? So my compassion kicked in and then my empathy kicked in and I was able to lean in and go, look, I didn't quite catch it. Can you tell me again? Because that sounds important, right? Because I'd switched off a little bit. Right, checked myself, and I know that if I'm not being empathic, I'm not showing up the way I could, and I'm going to lose the sale basically. And again, we're here to rescue revenue, aren't we? Stop these things from happening, and there's such simple things that we can stop from happening, right? And if anybody in here is thinking that's not me, I never do that, you're the person I'm talking to. All right. This is exactly for you. Check yourself. You are not as empathic as you think you are, and you're certainly not empathic all the time. You have to try. Okay. You have to try to be empathic as much as you possibly can. Okay. So have I hit that home hard enough? Saw one today, isn't it? Crash hats on. Okay, so quickly then, you know, if your energy off, you're less empathic. I just gave you an example of that, of me recognizing that in myself. I didn't feel very well, you know, and my energy was a little bit skew-iff, but I had to do it anyway, because it was sort of planned and I potentially should have cancelled, but I didn't. You know, we make mistakes and we go at things that we shouldn't go at. But then we come around to, look, if your energy is off, you're less confident as well. So it does all tie into your energy. That's why energy was number one, because it ties into everything else. Yeah. If your energy is off, you're less empathic. If your energy is off, you're less confident. I knew I was less confident that day. Yeah. So another thing is compassion is not the same as empathy. So I gave you that example of, I sort of reminded myself, hey, you're not being a nice guy here. Where's your compassion for this person? Okay, all right, now I'm feeling compassionate again. I've just recognized that this person needs me. Now I'll start being empathic. So it's not the same to just feel I need to do something for this person. Then I had to go the next step and I had to lean in and show my empathy and let them feel it and use my tone and use my body and use my smile or use my sad face and say, bloody hell, that's horrific. I'm so sorry to hear that, that you've lost your business. That's horrible. You know what? Tell me what happened. That's empathy. And you've got to do it vehemently. Okay. And that's when people will trust you. And that's going to be the bottom. That's going to be your baseline for your good sales. Your baseline for when the business makes money, not just sales. Thumbs up on that one. Got a little passionate there as well. But it's good stuff. Okay, and yeah, and just a final point on it, you know, you if you don't always have their best interests at heart, it is costing you sales as well. So empathy comes also in the form of, if you really care about the people that you're helping and you really are behind and, you know, on board with what you're selling and you really do want to help everybody, then it has to be everybody. And that means no judging. And that means don't go into the call with, oh, this one's a bit of a plonker because his email address is such and such, or he didn't confirm the call. I bet he hasn't watched the training. Don't do that. Give everybody a fair chance, because you're knocking your own energy off and it's going to affect everything else. Does that resonate with anybody? Has anybody gone into a call going, this isn't going to be a sale because of some silly reason, right? Me, definitely, right? Well, Barbara's don't buy courses. I mean, what am I doing, right? Okay. So I'm glad that's resonating with you guys, because it also means as well that you've had enough sales calls to experience these things and you can change it. It means that your teams are going to benefit, your sales percentages are going to benefit here as well. Okay. So a last little thing on empathy then. I'm the good guy, right? When I'm holding somebody accountable, when I'm being that person on the end of the call that won't let them go, when I'm asking those questions and confronting them on how things really are, and I'm trying to get to the truth and I want everything on the table, that's not me being a bad guy or asking questions that I shouldn't ask. That's me being a good guy, and I change lives because of that. So if you flake when they need you to the most and you don't use empathy, you use force, you're the bad guy. Okay. And I'm putting it that way just because it might help you to remember to be the good guy, right? To stay with them, to ask the questions, to lean in and switch on your empathy and turn it up a notch if you need to. Helpful? I hope. Yeah. Okay. You can tell as well that when I do calls like this, I'm not used to being the one talking most of the time. Because on a sales call with me, I'll be talking less than 10% of the time and you'd be talking 90% of the time. So I'm always looking for feedback and I'm not used to hearing my voice quite so much.
So, would you say like the main way that you're doing this is through the questions you're asking, not so much in terms of like, you know, you responding to whatever statement or information that they've revealed, which is like, let's say, for example, sensitive information to them or something they wouldn't necessarily share. Like, do you think most of the empathy is built from the question, or I guess how much do you think is also made in, you know, how you say something better than, oh yeah, I completely get you, which is like pretty not empathetic, but like, you know, what you say is like, I can see why that'd be really hard to, you know, bring that up.
I think you're making the point that could I just ask good questions and still make a sale? No.
I guess I'm really just interested in the split, I guess.
Yeah, in what percentage do I think it matters? I think if you don't have trust and empathy in a sale, you'll lose about 90% of it. That high. And I think that's a good way to think of it. I think it's that high. And do you know why I think that? And that's a really good thing to bring up, because I've trained sales reps that are incredibly wet behind their ears and they've never been on sales calls before. And sometimes I'll employ people on account of their trustworthiness, not their sales skills. So I can teach them the sales skills. But if I meet someone and I instantly go, oh, no, bad vibes, jujus, I don't know that this person will resonate. I don't know. I can't teach empathy. I can tell you to turn it up. I can remind you that it exists. I can give you ways to tap into it. But in order to get somebody closing on a sales call, I haven't really got the time to teach somebody, to be a trustworthy person. I can only remind them and see if they can be a trustworthy person. So that's why I think it's that high, Archer. Someone else might disagree with me, but I think it really is up there in the 90s. That if you can't get through a sales call, with less than 90% empathy and trust and expect to make a sale.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I guess the other thing that I'm asking is like, in the way that your empathy shows, is that primarily shown through the deeper questioning that you provide? Or is it in response to the vulnerable answers they give?
I think it's a good way to ask the question as well. I think it's the response. I think
Yeah.
it's me leaning in and responding and actually showing them that I understand. The way I show empathy might be different to the way other people show empathy as well. And I'm okay with that, but as long as it works, ultimately. I mean, you've heard me being empathic and I can switch it on. I am an empathic person. I do feel what other people feel. I cry on sales calls sometimes. People tell me horrific things because I create a safe environment for them to do so. And I understand that in part, it might be part of their decision. What was the impact of you losing your business during COVID? How has that hit the family? What's happened? What's going on? You've lost your house. Holy shit. That's how I show empathy. I try to understand and I'm with them, So yeah, I think it's in a large part in the response and the listening and responding, rather than just the questions that you ask. Delivery is important. We talk about that a lot, don't we? And of course, there are structures to my sales calls and I do use scripts and frameworks. I'm pretty disciplined in that way. But none of that means anything if my energy is off and I'm not being empathic because I stop being able to listen.
Yep. And then it's obvious.
It's super obvious, yeah. And then you get that desperation, holy shit, I'm on a sales call.
Yep.
Right. And it gets people's backs up. So great question. And I'm going to dig my heels in and say it's in the high 90s. To be honest, that empathy is really a game changer for sales. It's a baseline. It's definitely a baseline. Energy, empathy, your confidence, which is why when you make a sale, you make another sale. By the way, they tend to come in twos or threes because your confidence is so high from making that first sale. It's really useful, right? If you're on a sales team, making your first sale is a real confidence boost. Right. So when I'm training a sales team, I need my closers to make a sale as early as possible. So I have to give them an abundance of opportunity of good leads, get them to make a sale as early as possible because I know it's that confidence that will carry them on today, that will get them through a few no checkers or something or a couple of losses. Right. It's definitely the key. Okay, so I think I've banged on for probably long enough. Questions, feedback, comments? Zero? Is it at least helpful? Thumbs up from Michael. Thanks, bud.
Very helpful.
Very helpful. Thanks, Harriet. Great. Well, good. And look, you can tell I get excited about this stuff. It's my bag. I love it. And I want everybody to love the sales process. The way I sell is I don't really call it selling. It's a transformational coaching call when you get on with me. And it's let's roll our sleeves up and muck in together. Let's collaborate and let's see if we can find a way out of what's got you here. Right. Understanding the sales process, understanding the fact that they're there for a reason, right? So find out what that reason is and don't go home without it, ultimately. Okay. Alrighty. So one last time, any questions?
I've got an unrelated question.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess Yeah, I mean, the stuff we just went through might help with this, but my question, I guess I sent to you a few days ago about dealing with the cycle, because I tend to, I guess, break after like 2, 3, 4 cycles on when we're doing the objection handling and stuff like that, because it gets awkward. I get awkward, and I was like, and then I break. So I guess any thoughts on that?
Have a glass of water and go back in.
Yeah. I feel like I run out of steam and I don't know what else to say or how to reword the same thing, you know?
Yeah. No, I do get you. And it's the squirmy part. I think it's going to come with just a bit more practice, Archer. I think you just get used to it. It's almost a bit like riding a bike. You get used to the saddle sore, you know. I'm sorry, that's a terrible analogy. But you get used to it. Look, I've had very long silences at the end of sales calls that have turned into sales, so it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
To sit there in the squirm, and it's the place that they need you sitting there as well.
Yeah. Because I find it like also tough when it's just like, oh, it's just really just like whatever, like just the most dumb excuse, like, oh, we just really need to like chat about it. Obviously for my case, because like there's multiple people on the other side of the call and they haven't chat to each other.
Yeah.
So I don't know, should I just say something like, yeah, are you guys able to chat about it just while we're on this call? Like,
okay, so well let's go at it practically then, because I suppose it would be the same answer if you said to me, but I need to move money around, and I would go, yeah, go on then. Like,
Yeah.
let's handle the logistics about it, right? I was bedding down an offer last week, and I was able to use the first call as training on why we don't do delayed enrollments in that offer. Because you all know what a delayed enrollment with the headache it causes, and that they rarely come back, and even if they do, it's not guaranteed revenue in your business, so you shouldn't be, hitting and hoping with them. So we made a point of changing something in that team of saying we don't do delayed enrollments. You're going to have to write lost on your sheet. If they come back, great, but you're going to have to write lost, because it's terrible for mindset ultimately. And so going into the call or making it quite clear that this is a yes or no environment rather than a maybe. And again, I don't want to be too tactical about it, because that will ruin the foundations, won't it? But it's maybe it's something along the lines of, for your target market anyway, I don't, because we could lean into the idea of, look, people who take action, those are the ones that succeed. And it's not necessarily the same thing if this isn't making any sense to anybody. Archer has the difficult job of selling to the parents of the students that he helps coach, right? So he has to get the student on board, and then he has to get the parents on board, and he does a bloody good job of it, by the way, with a great close rate. But there's still those ones, right, that don't come across. So maybe it's a case of, some people would tell you to use scarcity, and there's only 2 spots on my program and stuff like that. I very rarely use external practice in my sales. I just don't think it's no problem. Michael, nice to see you. I'm just halfway through a response to you, by the way. It'll be there in a minute. All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, bye, Michael. So the other way to handle it is, look, it's okay for you to say no. Is this not something that you want?
That's nice.
Right? It's okay. I mean, if you've just decided, I'd rather you just tell me now, is this not something that you want?
Yeah.
But it's better, if I'm going to be completely honest, it's still very much better to go through the uncertainties.
Yeah.
It's still better to say, look, most people at this point are actually able to make a yes or no decision. Is it a no from you, or is it a yes from you, but there's something uncertain going on? If there is, let's talk about it. And honestly, you just have to keep going around and around and around at that point.
Yeah.
if you see the notes on my sheets from anything that I've lost, it'll say, and around we went, and this was the objection, and around we went. And
Yeah,
I could be
yeah.
on. I handled objections for 3 hours one time. It was like a bloody marathon. It was worth it. It was a big sale, but you know, it was 3 hours of objection handling, and then his boyfriend, and I had to handle his objections as well. And it was like, you know, and ultimately, I didn't have anything else to do that day, so I just sat there. I just said, I don't think I should leave because I think you want to do this, and I think if we talk about this, I think we can overcome your uncertainties. Are you up for that?
Mm.
Okay. Do you want that?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm prepared to help you in that way. Do you want me to help you in that way? Yeah, only stay if you really do think that this is a good idea for you. If you don't think it's a good idea for you and you've decided it's just not a good idea already, just tell me. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Typing, is that you?
Yeah, that's me. That's me. I guess the other little thing is, I mean, I get that they will always want their little chit chat because, like, you know, the mom wants to talk to the dad wants to bring their thoughts to the mom, and then just like ask the son or whatever the child is like, are you actually going to do this? Like, do you think I should or should not give them the opportunity to have that minute or 2 minute just reconvene with everyone, because they're not able to get their shared thinking, they're not able to make that happen.
No, you should be doing it during the call, Archer. So
Yeah. So I'm saying like on the call and then
Oh,
it's
no,
like, oh, do you need a minute to
earlier
just
on in
quickly
the call.
chat about this?
No, earlier
Okay.
on in the call. So I get what you're saying, but what about if it was this in the sense of, so you ask a question, dad answers, right? Mom, do you agree? If you got
Right.
anything else to say about that?
Yeah.
Right. By the way, the most difficult way to sell is to two people with differing opinions. So
Yes.
man, you've got your work cut out for you, but there are ways around it 100%. It's a bit like, I don't know, Julia, you might be on sales calls with multiple business partners. Same thing. Everybody's got an opinion, right? And you've got to bring them in to the
Yeah.
conversation. So at the end, there shouldn't be any conversation really. There should be everyone's in agreement. Mom, are you in agreement? Yes. Dad, are you in agreement? Okay. Do you disagree with that at all? Do you want to talk about it now? Try to get everything done before the pitch. Right? Make every effort possible to get everything done before the pitch. Everything out in the open. It'll never pay you to not give somebody a chance to actually think, though. Right?
Yep.
No thinking time equals hard sell.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it comes across, right? So instead, get it all done earlier on in the call. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
What one more thing? What about the last point though, when they're like, you know, the mum and the dad perhaps are just saying like, okay, do we actually just go for it? You know, like, how do I make that happen? Because they have to ask each other, right? After the price has been dropped, so that they're all both ready for this.
I'm playing out a scene in my head.
Yeah. So is it really just a situation where I'm just like, so are
I
you
think,
guys ready
and
for
to
this?
be honest, Archer, I would be silent at that point. I would
Yeah.
believe that I'd done enough at that point, that one of them or both of them are so convinced by my support and help for whatever it is that they want, that they'll convince each other.
Yeah.
So,
Fair enough.
so I wouldn't, again, you know, I'm not very tactical at the end, and I don't rely on objection handling that much, because I'm quite sure that I've done enough, and I only pitch people when I'm happy that I've done enough. So for me at that point, it's probably going to be a case of, Mum, Dad, you know, this is the price. Once I've told you the price, you know, just let me know, you know, if we're moving forward. Okay. And then silence until you're asked a question. I think that's the best route.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be pretty silent at that point, because any interrupting is more than likely going to turn into more questions. And you know, then around you go. Silence is the best solution at that point. Okay. Yeah.
Sounds good.
You've seen my scripts. It goes drop the price and then shut up, right?
Yep.
Don't say anything. Let them
Yeah.
think. Let them thrash it out.
It's pretty funny. Like for the past three sales calls, they're like, "Oh yeah, so is it like a payment plan?" Oh no, but you said one-time investment. They always say exactly that. It's like
Yeah,
really
I mean,
weird.
people come up with ridiculous things at that point because they're just trying not to make a decision. So if you
Yeah.
allow it, right, if you just sort of get stuck in with them and start helping them make excuses by talking, then you're allowing it to happen. Is
Mm-mm.
put it right? Don't allow
Yeah,
it.
so it's really funny.
Nothing. Yeah, it is. I mean, people get squirmy at that point, and oh my God, the amount of sales I've lost because somebody says, oh, my battery's going dead, or I've got to let the cat out. And it's like ludicrous thing. And this is why I don't do delayed enrollments as well, or I don't rely on them at the very least, because, and this is going to sound terrible, but the amount of terrible things that happen just after a sales call when somebody's got to make a big decision, it's really shocking. Someone's had a heart attack, there's cancer diagnosis going on, and I'm not saying those things didn't happen, but it's astonishing how many happen when they've got to make a big decision about money. Right?
Mm.
We've had this other catastrophe happen and we've got to focus on that. Right? It's an elaborate way to get out of making a decision, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not being compassionate about things that happen to people, and in some cases it'll be true, but in most cases it's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't blame them. You haven't created enough safety for them. They haven't gone for it. You haven't done a good enough job. That's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's my fault on the sales call that I didn't get them all the way there, trusting them. So it's okay.
Lara, do you say on the sales call do you say we avoid doing delayed enrollment, or I don't do delayed enrollment, or how do you deliver those words to the client?
It very much depends on what I'm selling and what it really looks like. Sometimes there is just, there's an urgency. We do only have 2 spots left. Sometimes that is the case. But almost always it's a case of, look, if you haven't been able to make this decision with the amount of stuff that we've talked about, and everything that's going on, then perhaps this isn't the right thing for you. And pushing back at a point where we go, look, I'm not saying you have to say yes or no right now, but I don't think you're going to be able to make this decision without me because you haven't been able to before. So, what's really going on? And what if I just said to you, why don't you just go for it? And if you're really not happy, well, then I'll just refund you. And if they won't do it at that point, they definitely haven't been convinced by what you've offered. You've missed something. Round you go. I'm so sorry. It seems like I've missed something because you're not able to make this decision, and that might be on me. Let's go back a second. You told me that you want X, Y, Z, and you don't want X, Y, Z. Is that still the case? Yes. Okay. So money aside, would we be working together? That, wasn't a factor. Yeah, we'd be working together. So for clarity, is it just the money? Yeah, it's just the money. Okay. What have you got to put down now? And we handle the logistics. But what I've done is I've got to the truth of it and the bottom of it as quickly as I could, essentially. Okay. That's it. That's the extent of my objection handling, right? Clarity. Tell me the truth. Otherwise, I can't help you. Okay. Once I know it's finances, I can handle logistics. Once I know it's a partner block, I can handle the logistics. Is he there? Can you call him? What if worst case scenario, you had to tell him that you'd put a refundable deposit down? You still don't want to do it? I've got to say, it seems like we've missed something then. What's going on? Right? So it's not that you're forcing them to make a decision. You're just trying to understand why they can't make a decision. And whilst you're doing that, they're convincing themselves that they can't find a good reason not to do it. They're just delaying and stalling because it's a big decision. Yeah. Helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. However, don't get too tactical. Go back to the basics, get your energy right, get your empathy up to a level 10. every single minute of every single call. Don't judge people and just go into the call wanting everybody to win, okay? Because you'll win more often then as well. Make offers to as many people as you possibly can. Objection handling will be just this tiny little thing that happens on the end, if and when. Okay. All right. Anything else? Oh, there was a question from Harriet White. What's a good close rate, in your opinion, and how quickly is it feasible to increase? Oh, that's a good question. That in overwhelmingly will depend on the target market of what's possible. I'll give you a couple of examples. So on a business opportunity selling B2C, you've got two different ratios. So booked to attend. This is like high volume sales team, like several people selling the same offer. You've got two different numbers, if you like. You've got booked to closed and attended to close. Right. So first of all, it's important to focus on which one of those we're talking about. So obviously the one I'm concerned with is booked to close, attended to close. They're the only ones I can close, right? But the company as a whole will be concerned with attended to close. You know, what efforts have we made to get them on the call in the first place and yada, yada. So let's look at only booked to close because that's, I think, where most of us are at right now. So booked to close closing rates, it really does depend on the target market. And it also depends on how high ticket it is because, well, let's say you have 5 calls that day and you close one of them, 1 in 5. Well, that's actually not terrible, right? That's fine because that means that one time in a day, you're making upwards of 3, 4, 5 grand, right? So it's not necessarily about the closing percentage, it's about what's possible that day with the target market that you've got. So for some offers that I've been on, I've made lots of money closing a sale a day, or maybe 5 a week, or maybe my KPI is 15 a month or 20 a month, right? And I'm doing great commissions, and the close rate, if you like, is only around about 11%, right? Because that's me taking 8 calls a day with a couple of no-shows, getting on foot. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not really a number that's a clear indication of what's good and what's bad, okay? That said, in your circumstances, if you can close 1 in 6, you're doing fine. Look at it, think of it that way, okay? 1 in 6 would be good.
And that's from booked to close.
Close. Yeah, booked to close, okay? And that doesn't mean it's not room for improvement, but that is that is a mover. If you can keep a base of 1 in 6 calls, you're going to be fine because it will naturally increase, right? I think my close rate consistently is around about 1 to 3 on any offer, 1 in 3 on any offer. Okay, but again, that doesn't mean that I've got a 25% close rate consistently because it depends on what the book to close ratio is, right? How many calls do you have to take to close at 11% or 12% or 25%, right? Very high ticket. It's very common to have close rates in big companies of around about, gosh, well, I mean, part of one of my jobs is to go in and help big companies that have shocking close rates with internal teams because they don't have a proper sales system in place. So, and you're asking how quickly can you change that around as well? Well, having a system in place and something a bit more battle tested helps. So one of my jobs being that, you know, I'll go into a company. The last time I did this, I went into a company that were closing at about 3%. My job was to at least double it, right? And of course, we tripled it because we closed faster. We were using a 1-call close. The sales reps were trained. They were having constant training, and there was a big difference. So, and that's the one I'm giving you an example of. The close rate that I expected from the sales reps at that point was, look, if you're closing at 11 or 12%, great, because it's an 8 grand sale every time you close. It's a great bottom line, good top line as well, right? So it does vary. So for you, I would be saying, look, if you can close 1 in 5, 1 in 6, you're doing okay. All right. And if you want to be closing more than that, increase your volume and get these back. I'm going to go right back to it, get these foundations in place. That will be your baseline. And then it will be at least 1 in 6. And then it will be 2 in 6. Okay, it naturally gets better. Your confidence grows and so on. All right. Coolio. Anything else from anyone else?
Yes. I had a question about like if I have like now I've started with the LinkedIn stuff and stuff. Yeah, but with kind of cold clients, if you have a target list in my segment, for example, construction companies. So when I'm calling the cold leads, so I struggle so much. Like when I'm in a sales meeting with when I get the meeting, in those I'm really good and I get like, but the starting point that's like terrible to be like when I call to a company like usually I get, even though I'm trying to just get an appointment where I can give them, for example, well, until now I've told them that I give them like a free evaluation of their own websites, and basically I rarely get to the point when I get to that point so that I can tell them that's what I'm offering.
So what's the response? How are they cutting you off? How are they getting rid of you?
Not now. Yeah, that's not that.
Not now,
Yeah.
did you say?
Yeah, can you call me later? And then I'm like, yeah, I can call you like tomorrow. Is that okay? Yeah, got it.
Okay. Not now is a very polite way of saying no, thank you. Right?
Yep.
I'm not
I
interested.
know.
So I mean, if that's the case, you can call them out on it and you can say, oh, well, people say that a lot, but it's rarely what you mean. Is this a no, thank you? Or are you actually interested?
Yeah.
Call them out a little bit. That would be one quick response, Julia. When somebody says not now, you can just say, oh, not now usually means no, thank you. So do you really want me to call you tomorrow? We've got some, is this a big problem for you? Do you really want me to call you tomorrow? And actually, people, generally speaking, recognize if they've been a little impolite and they'll backtrack a little bit. We lean into someone's humanness, if you like. Right? Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
not now usually means no, thank you. Do you really mean no, thank you? Because I'd rather just know. No chance. Right? And so then you're one step closer to getting them, because cold calling's tough. So if you're one step closer to actually just getting them to treat you like a human. First,
Yeah.
treat me like a human. Give them a reason to. So jump back in with, oh no, not now usually means no, thank you. Is that really what you mean? Say it with a smile on your face, like you said, right? And then you get a different response, and that won't be a response they're expecting either. Okay. And if they say, no, you can call me tomorrow, you can say, okay, well, is it okay for us to book a time then? Yeah. Can you grab your diary real quick? Have you got your computer open there? And they'll have to say yes, right? Because I've already lied to you once, right? And you called them out on it, right? So lean into the humanness of it. Try to be memorable for them in that, they might not be expecting that response. They might not be expecting something polarizing like that. Okay. And go for it. Go for the kill and book a call. Don't just call them back, because you'll get not now again. Right. So
Yeah.
take
because
it.
yeah.
Go ahead, Julia.
Yeah, I was just like with Anthony and with AC with the calls, like I feel like the biggest problem in my company is that we do like really good stuff, like really good. Like all of our clients are like super satisfied and stuff, but I'm just like struggling so much to get to the clients. I don't know now when I'm starting with the LinkedIn stuff and so on, it could change, but still, I feel like
have you considered the
kind of
specialist
sad.
system? Just having I mean, cold calling, it does take a lot of cold calls to get through to one client. I've got to tell you, it is it's not that it doesn't work. It's a bit like email. When you're consistent and you have a good process with it, I mean, 1 or 2 clients a month in your industry would be good, right? Is it a monthly recurring fee as well for your solutions, for your services, or is it like one big one-off?
Yeah, there's like the one that we usually do it like it doesn't include just the website. It has this package where there's the websites, branding, SEO, and like and we always try to, we basically always sell the like the monthly, I don't know what's the English word for it. Yeah, but the hosting and stuff. And then there's also, we always try to sell also the service where like this communication service where we kind of digital marketing, but not
Okay.
like.
So, I mean, well, I suppose looking at the data and looking at even if, you know, it's worth doing the cold calling and if there are other ways that you could adapt your lead gen process, I'm sure you're looking into those things anyway. You've got to look at, well, how many cold calls do I have to do in comparison with how many calls it gets me booked? Have you got an idea, like per month, how many cold calls you do versus how many calls?
Well, actually, I'm quite often so busy that I think I'm not doing the cold calls like as much as I should, because we always have work, like,
Okay.
and those work, they usually come from referrals, like basically almost every of our there so satisfied with us, so there's someone always like, who did this website to you, or they come like from our customers websites, like
do you get referrals in a high enough volume to grow and have enough clients?
No.
Okay. All right, because then I would be saying, well, why do anything else if you've got enough coming in? But if you still need more clients, then because cold calling is quite time consuming as well. So I would be in favor of exploring having a specialist, like a setter at doing outbound outreach for you. You know, so that means funneling for clients or stalking your social medias for people that follow and having conversations and booking calls that way. That going at it's a bit more direct essentially, and you have a person and an in. And the other potential mistake is going in when you call somebody, going in for a sale as opposed to going in for a booked call. Right? I wouldn't cold calling for me the first time you speak to somebody isn't necessarily a good time to sell them anything, but it's a great time to say, I've got a space in my diary tomorrow to talk about XYZ. Are you in? It's a great chance to book a call, right? Rather than anything else. I'd be switching my tracks a little bit, Julia. I'd say there's a lot that can be done in your with outbound, which we have systems for. And I think cold calling, if you're busy, if you've got clients, but they're just not quite enough, I think cold calling is a bit time consuming. And it only really ever results in 1 or 2 clients every month. And that's if you're at full capacity calling hundreds of people, right? So I would switch tracks a little bit. Talk to Anthony about the specialist system. Get some outbound.
I actually talked with him like yesterday, but then he told me to wait for this call with you.
Okay. Well, tell him I said you need a specialist system.
Okay.
I would just go at it really much more directly, Julia. I think if you're busy already, hit the specialist system. So what that means essentially is that you'll hire somebody, hire a specialist and train them to book calls for you. It's commission based.
Okay.
It doesn't cost the business anything really. Okay.
Yeah.
I would definitely be exploring that. Is there something that you could do with the cold calls? Yep, we can. I've talked about a bunch of stuff where I'm okay with cold calling. I did it for my own marketing businesses. I booked myself, a handful of calls each month, but I found it quite time consuming with at my at the stage of growth, it wasn't the most productive way to spend my time, if that makes sense. Whereas you could have a specialist funneling these calls for you, booking calls for you. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was trying to find when I found my way to Impact School, I was just trying to find like consulting for selling. But I'm glad I found you guys. But that's what I was trying to find.
Yeah, you get everything here.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So think of just have a good assessment of what lead gen's happening at the moment, or where your energy would be best placed. And if you can delegate some of your lead gen to specialists, that sounds like a good fix right now. Something to try. Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Happy days. And
okay, thank you, Lara.
How you get on? You're welcome, Julia. Jenna, you've been very quiet. I've got to have a chat with you. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I have actually one question for you. So can I ask?
Sure.
So, what is your best tip for closing? So my situation is that my closing rate was like 70% when I had something small like money discount, but I know that you don't like maybe. But when we stopped this money discount, then now my closing rate is like 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just thinking that what should I do that I will, because I want to close like right away.
Yeah.
I don't want that they will wait or that they say that let me think about it. So what is your best tip for that I want to close right now?
Okay, great question. So look, I don't have a problem with let's say external pressure. I just know that it can also be detrimental to a sale. So my focus is always on internal pressure. Okay, so is there a fix for how you close the call when you don't have external pressure to use, like a money discount or scarcity? Yes, but it may not be the answer that you were looking for. The fix is that you have to be better at building internal pressure. Yeah, that's the fix really. It's not a straightforward fix. It's a philosophical fix, if you like, in that internal pressure is almost always way more powerful than any kind of external pressure. Getting people to, I think we've talked about this a little bit as well, is that people tend to need a nudge to make the decision there and then. And sometimes that nudge is, well, you get a discount if you join today, right? But it also, it's also something that causes a higher percentage of refunds. Okay, so striking a balance with close rates that end in solid committed sales, because we haven't had to use external pressure that increases refund rates, is quite a bit better actually. Would you agree with that the refund rate is higher when we use external pressures? Or maybe not in your case?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think yes. I think yeah, I know what you mean,
Yeah.
and
So
I
we-
have to just practice it more.
Yeah, and I think you're going to do fine, by the way, Jenna. I've heard great things about you. And I think when you know more about the offer and you understand the avatar and the points to press, if you like, I think you'll be fine. And I stopped using external pressures just because, well, one, refund rates, two, recognizing that it didn't always work and that sometimes it was detrimental. So, and, it caused other, problems down the line, if you like. And I recognized that some people were getting away because I was thinking, oh, but they'll go for it because I'm just going to give them a discount anyway. And that's what people want. And actually, it's not. People want their problem solved. So what you're talking about is, how do I make them to get the decision there and then without the discount? Right? It's not the discount. The discount is a sweetener, right? It's just a nice cherry on the top. Is, I could save 1,000. I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, I'll just do it, right? But it's not the decision has already been made. So actually, they would have done it even without the external pressure. You gave them that as the option, right? If you don't give them the option and they have already made a decision to join the program, well, they don't need the external pressure anyway. Then it's going to come around to, okay, well, I'm going to decide tomorrow. And that's where you'll be thinking, oh, but if I'd have given them a discount, they'd be joining today. That's not strictly true, right? At least 30% of the time they didn't, right? You had a 70% close rate, not 100% closing rate. So it's not it's not the discount. That's just a sweetener. And if ever you use a discount or a money back guarantee or something like that external, it should really be as just a sweetener, right? If you decided you want to do this, are you ready to make a decision on it? This is the price, right? And then anything after that is a bit of a sweetener. Okay, so get the commitment there and then. And honestly, Jenna, I think you'll be fine, and I think you'll be able to get your I wouldn't say that your close rate is lower because you can't use an external dish rate. It's probably just because it's a new offer and you need to just have a few more reps. Just turn over a few more reps. And I think it'll raise by itself. You're a good sales rep. I don't think you need external pressures. I think you'll be fine. Okay. Yeah, I sort of made that rule for myself and said, oh, I'm gonna see if I can do it without an external pressure. And I just did a month where I just decided I'm never given a discount, right? I don't need to. I'm good enough. My results are amazing. I don't need to give discounts. They should want to do it, right? They should want to pay me double, was my attitude, right? And as soon as that my mindset switched in that way, I was right. They didn't need the discount. It was a sweetener occasionally if I really thought they couldn't afford it. It was like, I can see how honest you've been. I'm going to just knock off 1,000, because I want to, because I can, right? But it wasn't ever part of the deal. Okay, right? So I think just get your reps in, learn this avatar, learn the offer as much as possible. Start recognizing, what the real true objections are for people, and no smoke screens. I'm sure Marianne and the team are talking to you about smoke screens and the non-reasons for people to buy things, right? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. Does that help, Jenna?
Yes, it helps.
A little bit. Okay, well, let me know how you get on then. We'll hopefully see you next week and see if you've got those close rates up. By the way, excellent close rate. And just repetition. It'll come up by itself. You don't need the external pressures. You just have to take my word for that for now. Okay, confidence boost. Right, you're good at what you do. You don't need the external pressures. Just go for it. All right.
Oh, all right.
Perfect. Okie dokie. All right, I'm going to call it a day. Everybody's left, so thanks for hanging around, Archer. Good night, and Jenna, it was lovely to meet you. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.